I would never wear this to work. Welcome back everyone. Today I'm going to share with you 10 things I learned from corporate Japan. And I've been thinking about this idea for a long time, so buckle up. So a little bit about myself. My name is Lisa, as you know from this video. I have been working in Japan full-time for 2 years now, and this is my third year. I work as a consultant at a consulting firm. I've worked on projects from strategy-related projects to technology-based projects. So projects I've been on are very different. This is to purely explore what I like and what I don't, and I'm so blessed to be in this situation where I get to wear different hats and experience different things. Although the cultures from departments are vastly different, I wanted to give you like a general difference when it comes to working in Japan. And of course this is purely my experience, so it might be different for everyone. Just let me preface before I get started. Although the 10 things I learned from corporate Japan are all important skills for working professionals, but I could also understand why that could lead to long hours. And some of it I do agree to a certain extent, but some is this really necessary, or would that also affect your mental health for working long hours? So I actually used to get annoyed quite a lot, but over time I kind of got used to it, and I think I'm accustomed to Japanese business courtesy now. So yeah, without further ado, let's get started. Number 1, attention to detail. In Japan, being meticulous is crucial. Every little detail matters and nothing is left to chance. Whether it's preparing documents, organizing meetings, or even the format of emails, everything needs to be precise and orderly. Attention to detail ensures high quality in all tasks. This includes using particular fonts, aligning each boxes. I used to have a lot of trouble about this. I'm traumatized by PowerPoint. Japanese people love to use boxes to organize everything in some Excel sheet format that I didn't really know. I was taken back at how many times I need to review to just send a single email that is not even important. Also, I have received a feedback where my supervisor told me I am using way too direct languages and I should not use word "we cannot." And instead, we should say "it is difficult to blah 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 blah." To make it more vague and soft as possible it can, which is very important in Japan. 2. Unique symbols. I'm pretty sure this is unique to everywhere else but in Japan. Yeah, Japan corporate cultures normalize some really interesting symbols. Those are unique symbols that are not bullet points or hyphen points to, organize in writing. First of all, people use circle symbol instead of using tick. Tick is not used in corporate Japan or in Japan in general. People just use circle for tick. This is kind of annoying because in Excel, there are symbol circle and then circle in a different format. So if people use different kinds of circle, like in Excel, and then if I have to use Excel formula, sometimes it doesn't match because it doesn't recognize as a certain circle. So yeah, this thing sometimes annoy me because I can't use Excel formula unless I format all the circle symbols, which is such a waste of time. You wouldn't have to do that if we didn't use circle symbol, but yeah. Anyways, another unique symbols that we use, and people use rectangular, star symbol, or even this symbol for creating a summary instead of asterisks, which is not used in corporate Japan. We don't use it at all. I found Japanese people love using this quotation mark here. They love it. That's something that I got really taken back at first. So weird, it's so different. And then I thought using star symbols are childish to some extent, but people use that in business setting, and I thought that was very important, cultures, right? 3, seeking approvals. This is very, very important. This doesn't mean seeking validations from others about yourself, but all about your tasks that you've done. Everything, pretty much everything you do. In Japanese companies, seeking approval is a significant process of a workflow. This can actually become a weapon if anything goes wrong. I also find it's really important to just seek approval Instead, it takes a long time for decision making, which can be annoying at times. Like for example, we talk about something to come up in an internal meeting to present to client. Fine. And for example, if I have the idea how to talk to my team internally to discuss whether this is okay or not, to get my team's approval, including my manager's approval, and once that's done, you propose the idea to a higher level outside of the team to make sure if this can be proposed to the client, to make sure our side knows our plan. So when clients ask questions to the MD, then they can answer it without not knowing about things that are going on. After the approval from a MD or the people in higher up, we present to the client at a meeting. Of course, a lot of time has been taken to prepare for that meeting. That's not the point. We present to the client, and then the client talks to their senior, the people in charge for decision making, to make sure if this idea can be proceeded. That could take a long time, depending on what client they are. Yeah, so after we have that approval by the client, they get back to us to see if this is okay or not. And then once that's approved, and we put it in writing and then proceed with the task. Normally, that takes a long time, to say the least. I sometimes get annoyed because a lot of preparation is taken into that approval. But this is actually important. If the idea is bent to some extent, we know why, because we write everything in writing. This thorough process helps maintain high quality standards and prevents mistakes, especially when dealing with clients. But yes, this process takes time, and yes, people work long hours for this. 5. Active listening. Active listening is of course important at every company, but Japanese companies require something more than that. In Japan, to show your active listening, when you're talking to someone that is not in like a presentation setting, it's important to show you're paying attention by responding with some verbal cues. For example, yeah, I see. In Japanese, we say, "Hai, hai," or なるほど、なるほど、はい、はい、そうですね、はい。Yeah, that's what people expect, to make sure they know that I'm listening. In the middle of conversation, while someone is talking, we are supposed to kind of interrupt, but not interrupt, just responding while someone's talking in the middle of the sentence. We're supposed to say that. And I actually did that to my senpai when I was in middle school in bukatsu, like a club activities. When I was in tennis club, that I had to nod and then to say "hai, hai" in the middle of their sentences while they're talking. To make sure I show my respect, these verbal cues apparently let the speaker know that you understand, and to show you're actively engaging in conversations. Number 6. Clients always come first. This old Japanese saying, customer is God, still exists in modern corporate Japan. Clients are top priority and their satisfactions are always paramount. The client-centric approach means that people go above and beyond to meet the client's expectations, ensuring long-term business relationships. Although this kind of mentality supports under-promise, over-deliver mindset in employees. I was kind of shocked when I saw some condescending behaviors in meetings that is not acceptable at all as a person. Like my jaws literally dropped. Like I could not undo. Like I'm not gonna go further into that, but if you do that in Australia, that would not look good at all. Number 6, dress code. Dress codes are taken very seriously in Japanese corporations. My Chinese teacher back in high school used to say makeup is like a business courtesy for women in Japan. And I do agree now with what she says. At my work, dress code is pretty lenient and it really depends on where you work at. And when I was working at my client's office, I used to dress pretty formal while employees at the client side work in casual attires like jeans. It really depends. On the other hand, I dress pretty casually at my home office. It's always good to overdress than to underdress. Dressing appropriately is a sign of respect and professionalism, reflecting the company's image and values. My friend who works at a bank, she said she's only allowed to wear clothes in white, black or beige. I don't have that kind of restrictions, but there is a rule that I'm not allowed to wear a skirt that shows my thighs and just too much skin in general. I'm not also allowed to wear something that has a brand logo, just because I currently work for a client that produces clothes that should not be contradicting with what I work for. For example, if I worked for Starbucks and then had a blue bottle tumbler, it's the same thing. Yeah, so I think that's normal everywhere, to be honest. I still don't get used to Japanese dress code, but I try to follow to look as ordinary as I can to not stand out. So for example, I will not wear this because I got this at Brandy and this shows too much shoulders and that will not look good. I just wear something like this or this and that. Like I would not wear a miniskirt or anything. I just try to cover as much skin as I can even in summer, just to not stand out, because it's not a good thing to stand out in Japan. It's always in a negative way. I don't want to not respect the dress code in Japan, because the fashion taste I have is very different to what Japanese people expect people to wear in general, just even in like outside of work occasion, but I try to follow it as much as I can. 7. No fancy dinners. Extravagant and expensive dinner places consultants go. Like this YouTuber went to this like most extravagant Michelin starred restaurant for dinner for team bonding. That has never happened. That has never happened. I don't think that's the case, especially in Japan. To be honest, we don't really have time for team bonding because we work on client's dime. But if we do celebrate at the end of projects, we normally just go to normal izakaya, which is like a casual Japanese pub, or casual restaurants like Japanese barbecue. Of course, there's an exception. I've been to fancy dinners, but I've been to way more casual gatherings, which we call nomikai, which literally means drinking events. I think this is because we have a big drinking culture. People just tend to get cheap drinks, especially if they want to loosen up from intense work. I was kind of expecting the opposite as consultant, but I realized this might be one of the working cultures in Japan. Number 8. Hierarchical importance. Corporate hierarchy is very important and something you have to keep in mind at all times when you're working in Japan. Your level within the company significantly determines your responsibilities and tasks, as well as your reliability. In training, I learned where to sit as a junior and where the most senior person should sit in meeting rooms, cabs, and an elevator. It's not always the case. Obviously, this culture really depends on what kind of company you work for. For my experience, I think it depends on who I work with. Some people really care about the seating arrangement. I think it depends on where my manager used to work at. Yeah, I think that really mattered for my case. Just to give you a quick example, if I was the most junior person in a meeting room, I have to sit where it's the closest to the door to make sure I get the door for the people, and to, you know, just to set the aircon and everything, to deal with the logistics. And most senior person has to sit furthest from the room and then closest to the screen or the front. So the clients normally sit at the window. Us, we just sit like closest side of the door. So yeah, that kind of notion still exists, but I'm pretty sure this sort of arrangement is pretty common, especially in traditional Japanese companies where a lot of old people work. 9. Work is top priority. In Japanese corporate culture, work life takes precedence over personal life. Although this notion is less common now than it used to be, but I think it still exists compared to other countries. Dedication to the job is always expected, and employees are committed to contributing to teams or company's success. This work ethic fosters a strong sense of loyalty and responsibility, and why people say Japanese people really work hard, because it's their top priority. Yeah, no wonder. I was really surprised when my colleague told me he quit his gym because work was getting busy. I personally do not understand this logic and mentality, because my work ethic is leaning towards the Western one, and physical health should always be your top priority over work. But as a child, when I was still living in Japan, I could feel the notion that kids go to school, adults go to work as if they're going to school and working their butt off. I was also talking to this MD at a dinner where he told me he lives for clients now and their satisfaction. I asked him, don't you burn out? And he said, not anymore, because my mindset is different. I realized when your mindset is different, that is not centered to you or to your family, you're not burning yourself out because you're working to achieve your goal of customer satisfaction. I'm not gonna say if I agree with this statement or not, but I can understand why Japanese people work really hard and people praise them for their high quality work. 10. Quiet work. This is one of the biggest things that I got culture shock with. Obviously, this is my experience. It was dead silent when I went to the office for the first time. I was like, is this how it's like to work? There's no such thing as chit-chatting, small talk, or talk that is not related to work. 98% of the time. Apparently some Japanese people prefer this kind of working environment to not get themselves involved with others so that they can maintain their personal time after work, which I totally understand. Also, silence is valued as it allows for concentration and productivity. It's perfect for people who don't like to talk to anyone at all. However, for someone who has been working customer service for 10 years or so, it was a struggle for me at first, and it is a struggle that I face time to time. Well, there used to be days where I didn't talk to anyone at all in the office, except for a few meetings that I attended where I spoke a little, but other than that, I just didn't talk to anyone at all day. Except when I leave work, I just said bye. お疲れ様でした. That was it. And おはようございます, of course, in the morning to greet people. But that's all I spoke, and I didn't talk to anyone at all. And of course, it's different depending on who you work with, what kind of project it is. If everything is not going well, then people are more like, tense and do not talk about something that's not related to work. But that wasn't the case. Like, we have some time to talk about stuff, but some people just don't talk about anything. No small talk is acceptable. So yeah, of course it's different depending on what kind of project you work for, you're on, and who you're working with. But going to the office and not talking to anyone is something that is not what I expected at all as a consultant. Yeah, for me, not talking to anyone is biologically not okay for me. But yeah, it depends. It really depends. It can happen. I think that's pretty rare, but it can happen. Hey guys, this is me editing this video right now. What I just talked about was when I was in the junior position, but then I am currently in a little bit higher position with more responsibility, where I get to sit in meetings like pretty much all day, but wouldn't have time to complete my own task until like 6 p.m. or even later. So maybe that's why people are like so busy. There's literally no time to like chit chat and then talk something that's unrelated to work. Like, people are way too busy, which kind of makes sense why people don't do anything that's not gonna increase their productivity. So those are 10 things that I learned from working in corporate Japan, which probably explains why Japanese people work for long hours and people praise them for hard work. Even though I'm still Japanese, I still don't feel like fully Japanese because my ethics are not as Japanese as other people. This journey has been challenging at times, but it taught me a lot of things about dedication, precision, and respect in the workplace. If you found this video helpful, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in my next video.